BlueNote Fan Report. Aloha and mahalo. I am Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and this is the BlueNote Fan Report, the show that is by a fan, for the fan, and about the fans. How are you all doing today? I am doing great. We got a new person. Gary, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Gary. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, I don't know who I guess I'm going to have. I saw one pop in and popped out. If he pops back in, we'll have him on. Well, I think he's trying to make sure that his sound works. He's had some issues before. If you've been with me a long time, you know who I'm talking about. And I got into a couple of arguments. I don't call them arguments, but discussions this weekend with some people on Twitter and on different things about Tarasenko, about Perron, about the Blues lineup and things like that. And that's what I think that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about tonight. The big question is going to be, did the Blues get better? And you know what? If you just look at the surface, I'm looking at Pujols and Sato, the Blue or the Cardinal and the maybe soon to be Cardinal are in one of the semifinals for the home run derby. That's nice to see. Let's see here. We got E. Guido saying he's here, but so I got it on in my ears. It's kind of sort of there. And there's an argument that Pujols shouldn't be at the All-Star game, but you know what? That actually he should be, and I like that they added this commissioner's pick to give guys that are retiring or are more than likely going to retire that chance. Sammy says your hair is getting long. Yeah, Sammy. Thank you, my friend. I'm waiting to see if our little guy our buddy bounces back here. I haven't seen him yet. Oh, there he goes. He just whapped one. I don't know how many he's got to hit, but okay, let's see. Do we have him? Do I have you, sir?
I think so.
Yep, I can hear you. Welcome, Lance. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound a little tired though, but you're doing okay otherwise.
Yep.
Okay, hey, so today I want to talk about a couple of things, and I wanted to talk to you about this privately, but I also wanted to talk about it publicly. So I always wanted to, I know what you're going through with your chemo and all that, bud, and I understand. Sometimes you can get very feisty when you're going through it. So I tell you, with all the love in the world, when you see guys on Facebook or Twitter that post something, some of that time, just let it go, man, because you're creating some issues for yourself you don't really need and some stress you don't need in your life. Does that make a little bit of sense, Lance, man?
Yeah, it does, but I normally don't get stressed out. I mean, if people want to be,
I just
if
care,
people want, I'll
care
take
of
it
you,
to
bud.
huh?
I just want to take care of you.
I know. If people, don't want to listen and, claim
Well,
that they're,
it's not that. It's not that they don't want to listen. You have to understand, Lance. When people see us, and I get this, right? When
Mhm.
they see us, they don't see Jim Thomas. They don't see Jeremy Rutherford. They don't see Lou Kohrig. They don't see Tom Timmerman. They don't see guys that are connected or the guys that are always talking or are always reporting on them. And one of the problem is we don't have the local players on the show that I want to get on the show, right? We don't have that. And once I can start getting that, then what you and me say will have more of a, it'll have more weight behind it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I understand that. Very rarely does it get to me, and yeah, I do get feisty, but it's not out of desperation or out of getting stressed or anything like that. I don't deal with stupid people very well,
yeah,
especially people that no matter what you tell them, no matter what you try to reason with them, like these people that think that Kachuk's going to come here for $7 million a year, and that the Blues only have to give up Kyrou and one other piece to get him. Or that next year in free agency, he's going to come home to St. Louis. I mean, people have got to think past the fact that he's Keith Kachuk's son, that
yeah,
and that oh, you know Hey, I love St. Louis. I love the fans in St. Louis. I love the players who stay in St. Louis. It's a great city. But you guys have to realize something. 99.9% of people don't care about St. Louis. And yeah, I'm sure Matthew thinks, hey, it would be neat. And he said that it would be neat to come back home to St. Louis. But he never ever said, I want to play in St. Louis. He's never said that once. And
That
people,
is true.
yeah, and I'm trying to get people to look at the history and think of it in normal terms. Okay, the Blues have already signed Thomas to 8 million. They're going to have to pay either O'Reilly or Tarasenko 8 to 9 million. Let's just say that. Okay, let's say they pay
Okay, I can see
Tarasenko.
that.
Yeah, let's say they pay. Let's say they decide to let O'Reilly walk and pay Tarasenko 9, or vice versa. Okay, that's 17 million between Thomas and him. They're going to offer Cairo some, I think, somewhere around 7, from what I'm being told. So that's 24 some odd million. And then people say they want to bring in Kachuk. Kachuk ain't going to take less than 10 million. Then that's almost 30 million. Then you've got other guys that are going to, I mean, people, all they have to do is look at the cap, look at what Kachuk wants, and figure it out. And people are just so in gaga and dreamy land. It's like that player from the Nationals, the Washington Nationals, that all Cardinals fans think the Cardinals are going to get, and he just turned down a 15-year, $440 million contract.
Talking about
Guys,
Sato, right?
yeah, guys, use your brains. It's common sense. And I sound like I'm frustrated now. I'm not really frustrated. I just can't handle stupid people that don't
Yeah,
see
but
things.
you know what? If you think they're stupid, it's probably best not to call them stupid. Just let them be stupid on their own. Just watch the name calling in your comments. That's all I ask. And I ask that because and I say this in the night in a way that I can. You do represent the Blue Note Fan Report, and I want to make sure that we treat everybody with respect. Is that fair?
Well, I treat people with respect. Let me word it differently then. I think a better word to use would be uneducated, because
Okay.
I think there's a lot of people out there. Hey, guys, I'm uneducated on a lot of subjects. There's subjects I
Yeah.
know nothing about. So when somebody tells me things, I think about it, and but yeah, it's great advice, and it's just, I know people want the best for the Blues, and I just wish they would really think within their mind and not that big piece of tissue in their chest called a heart, and they really look at the cap, they really look at what the Blues have, what they need to do, and really think, hey, we'd love to have Matthew Tkachuk, but I don't know if there's a good chance to get him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I don't think there's a chance to get Kachuk either. I don't, right? The one that I thought we could have gotten that I think would have come here at a value would have been Brady, right? I think Brady would have come here in the $5 to $6 million range. I really do, right? I got that feeling from him when I
I
talked to
I
him.
I I, I think I think nostalgia wise, family wise, hometown wise, I do agree with you. I think if anybody was to ever come to St. Louis, it's Brady way above Matthew, and that's not a knock on Matthew. It's just if you've ever met Brady or talked to Brady or know people that know both of them, yeah, they're brothers. They are two totally different personalities.
I'll tell you that straight up.
Yep.
I will tell you that straight up. I have met them 3 times now, 4 times.
Yep. Hmm.
Got invited to a private practice of theirs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, I was at a private practice. And really the the Centene staff tried to shoo me away. And I said, no, I
I
was invited
remember.
here by Jamie and the boys, and they whistled out to him and pointed me, and they gave the thumbs up. So it was an invite, and I got to
Hmm.
watch him play, and I got to talk to him. I don't have a connection where I can talk to him all the time, but I did get to
Sure.
talk to him, to get to meet him, and I got the feeling of, I know they are two different
They
individuals, and,
are.
and I mean,
Yep.
they may be brothers, but they are so far apart. And
Yep.
my 2 daughters are two,
Sure.
completely apart in that. The one that I think is getting everybody. And look, you and me know this, and it's the Tarasenko stuff.
Hmm.
You kind of, I don't think someone took it that you called them an ass, and I don't think you meant to. You were kind of more making a question of what they had said, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to say who it was or what it
Yeah.
was.
No, I'm not either. I didn't call them an ass. I just repeated what they said.
Yeah, and he felt differently, and he talked to me about it, and I talked to him, and I explained my side and your side to the best of my ability, and we're all cool. But I just wanted to bring that up and bring it up fairly with you. And I hope you're not mad at me that I did it in this venue, but
guy, you know what? I've had a stroke. My wife's been through breast cancer. My son has had terrible mental illness since he was 17, 18, bipolar schizophrenic, and now I've got this cancer. I normally don't sweat that kind of stuff, but I do appreciate you saying something about it, and it just shows that you care about your show, and hey, that's great.
Yeah, no, well, it's not just the show I care about. I care about you. All right, I do care about you. To be honest, if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't say a fucking word. No, I wouldn't. And that's just, it wouldn't matter to me. But because I do care about you, and I do know you on a fairly, strong personal level.
Yep.
I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to talk. And then look, yes, should this guy, maybe should this have been a private conversation? Possibly.
Possibly. Yep.
However, doing it here shows everyone that this is something that we can talk about openly and fairly. And it just, and then there's times, just a time difference that makes it hard for you and me to have that conversation. This is one of the few times that we could have it, and I think it's a good one. Right. And I think
any conversation that gets problems worked out or gets things figured out is a good conversation.
And I absolutely agree with that, my friend. I absolutely agree with that. Ashley says she has 7 siblings and none of them are alike. Yeah, that's easy to go. And then Greg, who's new to our show, says, great job supporting Lance. I always will support that. Lance. Hey, guys, Lance. All of us are behind you in the battle. Same goes for you, Guy, with all you deal with. I'm here for you both. And I know Mike, and I appreciate it. And I say this, I have people that I've met through this show that I may have seen once or twice that are better friends to me than people I've known 30 years.
Yep.
And I mean that. You guys are all great with what you do. Now, let's get into we'll talk Tarasenko a little later. I want to get into the other question. Well, first of all, Mikkola did sign his deal. And I will be, you got this one right. I got it wrong. Not by much, but I still got it wrong. You thought it would be right around the $2 million mark. Yep. And I thought just by looking at the cap, it would probably be closer to 1.5, high range of 1.75.
And that was a great guess. I mean, that was a great guess too.
And they came in at 1.9, right? So they are slightly over. They're like $100,000 over the cap, and they still have Kostin to sign. Now, I said in the thing he's a slight holdout. I don't want to call him a holdout. I think that he's going to get a mill. Really, well, I think he will.
Guy, what's frustrating is, and I've sat down and looked at 4 different sites, and I've went over and I've written everything down. Sport Track and every other site shows they're negative 125,000. As of this morning, and I brought it to somebody's attention and emailed Cap Friendly about it, and they show the Blues being 625,000 over the cap. Or under the cap. Let me look at it right now.
And I think what it is they actually have more guys on the quote. What it is how Cap Friendly shows them on the roster. I think.
It could be because there's 2 sites. There's 2 sites that show that they have 625,000 left to spend. Yeah. And there's 4 sites that show they're negative 125 something.
No, so right now at the moment, Cap Friendly shows them at 625 to the good.
Yep.
And I think that, and I'll kind of look at it here real quick. Trying to see if they got anybody listed here that they got a couple guys listed. Like, okay, so for in defensemen, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 7 defensemen listed right now, right? They may carry 7. They may only carry 6. We don't know. They have Falk, Krug, Parayko, Leddy, Scandella, Mikkola, and Bortuzzo. Right? Okay, I see that a little bit, but
but here's the name. They actually have 8 because Perunovich is supposed to be on that.
Yeah, Perunovich. Yeah, so they've got So what they've done is they've dropped Perunovich down into the minors. So in the minors they have Perunovich and Rosen, who are both were up, right?
Yep.
So exactly. So that's what they're doing. So what Cap Friendly's doing, it's how they're moving people around. But I don't know what's actually on that. So I'm watching the home run duery, and Sato has 13 home runs to Pujols' 15. He has a minute of bonus time. So he needs to hit 3 home runs in the next minute.
Yeah.
Right? Which I'm pretty sure he will do.
Yeah.
So they get 30 seconds of bonus for every home run they hit over 440 feet. So I guess Sato hit 2 of them. So Pujols' home run derby time will end here very shortly. I can't see Sato unless he just decides that he wants Pujols to go ahead, you know. But so what the real question is that comes down to is, did the Blues get better? Right? And someone said that they didn't add anybody to get better. And I want to argue that. I want to argue that I think they did get better. Right? I want to argue that I think the Blues, or there's one, so we need 2 more. I think that the Blues got better with a little subtraction by addition. Or, you know, right? Or addition by subtraction. Oh, there he's tied. He needs 1 more. And there it is. He's done.
Yep.
Right?
And,
so Sato just beat Pujols, and I think they'll stop this.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to hit anymore.
Yeah. I think that they're deeper because of some of those acquisitions from a Carey and a few of those other guys. People will say they're not good, but I think that fourth line with having him as a center on there instead of Bozak, I think that's automatically an upgrade. And nothing against Bozak. Bozak was just older. But
I'm with you. I don't have an issue. I think I do in some ways think that the Blues got better, and I'm like behind in my comments now. Let's see where we're at.
Take your time.
Okay. Do you think the Blues will dump some salary? And if so, when? Right now, the only salary they need to dump is putting it in minor leagues.
Yep.
Right? They have 23 on the roster. You don't need 23 on the roster. You need 22, 21. Right? You can carry 7 defensemen. You can maybe 22, right? 7 defensemen and 13 forwards.
Yep.
Right? And then you put 1 down. And you're good to go. You don't have it, right? And then you got Torpachenko. Torpachenko is going to go to LTIR. There's $750,000 right there that you're going to save. And now there is a difference. There is, and now I have read up on this. Depending on when you put them in LTIR, how much of that money gets
that's true
credited back. If you put them ahead of time, not all of it gets credited back. If
that's
you
why
wait
they haven't
until
done it.
opening day,
that's why they haven't done it.
Right? If you wait till opening day, then some of it gets credited back. Yes. Oh, is there a new Star Wars thing coming? I got the thing on. Oh, yeah. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so and I've been liking the mini ones. Oh, this is the one with Cassian. Andor. I can't wait for that.
I really love the Mandalorian, but
yes.
I can't get into Obi-Wan. I don't know what it is. It just has a different feeling to it.
Now, Obi-Wan took a while. Well, the problem is they tried to tell an eight episode in 6 episodes, and it's the same thing they did with Miss Marvel.
Yeah, Miss
right?
Marvel.
Miss Marvel, I didn't think I would like. I actually did, but again, actually, they could have stopped at 5. The 6th episode for me didn't do anything, right? The Andor, I'm looking forward to it. Actually, if with the Obi-Wan, if you take a step back and just kind of rewatch it, watch it again, it starts to make some sense to you.
Yeah, because I only watched 2 episodes of it, and maybe that's why I can't
you got to watch more of it, because about episode 3 is where it starts coming together.
Okay.
Where you start realizing who everybody is and what they're doing and all of that. So that is one of them.
Okay.
I really like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Boba Fett. The Book of Fett. I love that. I thought that was so original and creative, and it gave a different spin to the character.
Yeah, even as a kid in the Star Wars movie, when Boba Fett showed up, even though he was a villain, he was one of the first villains I really liked. I always liked him for some reason.
Dante says, get back to Blues talk. I think the Blues could definitely win the division. It'll be light with the Avs. It'll be tight with the Avs, but they could do it. I think they're ahead of the Avs.
I agree.
Right? And I'll tell you where they're ahead of them. The area that they're ahead of them that matters the most is goaltending. And I think in goaltending, the Blues are absolutely ahead of.
Yeah.
Ahead of.
people are going to be shocked at this guy because what has everybody said since last season? You and I said no, they need more offense. People are going to say Colorado's better defensively. Now, offensive defenseman, yes, Colorado's better.
Yes.
Defensive defenseman, no, I think the Blues are much better.
Yeah. Well, Ashley, I hope that you're the boss that you're doing. Um, it is feeling better soon, so you can
Yeah,
join us again. We do miss
yeah,
you.
we
We
hope
love
so.
you to death. We love you on the show. You really do help balance the show sometimes, but I love you to death. No, it's to me, and then I read the article today in the Athletic,
Yep.
and this is one of the now this is an article by Jeremy Rutherford where I can
Mm-hmm.
go, yeah,
Yep.
Jeremy, I see some of it, but I don't see all of it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
That's the way
this
I
is the
felt
one
about
where
it.
he looks at the Blues lineup,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things that he has in the lineup that I just don't agree with is and I suck at spelling here and I can't see very good. Ah, damn it, just when you need it. He thinks Neighbors is going to be a top 6 forward this season.
No, no,
I don't see that.
no. See, you and I disagree on this part. I don't think he's up for the whole season. I just don't see that unless there's injuries. I think from what I was told at the end of last season, Doug would like to see him in the AHL for a year to especially work on his defensive game. And if he comes up and blows us out of the water, I'm happy. I'm happy that it proved me wrong. I just don't see him being that. Who are you going to take down from the top 6 guy and put him in? Tell
No,
me.
no,
I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with
yeah, I
you.
know
I'm
that.
absolutely with you.
That's the question I'm asking Jeremy Rutherford. Tell me, Jeremy. It was a pretty decent article. I'll have to say that. But tell me, who are you going to take out of that top 6 and drop him down to the third line?
Well, here's what he's got. Here's what he's got for the forwards, right? He's got O'Reilly centering Bushnevich and Tarasenko. I
Hmm.
actually don't like that line at all, to
I
be
don't either.
honest,
I don't
right?
either.
Then he has Thomas centering Sod and Kyrou. I
Hmm.
would rather flip flop that. I'd rather have Sod and Kyrou with O'Reilly, right?
Hmm.
I think Kyrou can handle top line minutes for at least the beginning of the season, and then maybe he'll get to a point where he might wear out. I think he wore out last year. I also think he got a little bit of a big head from the All-Star game, right?
Hmm.
Um, but overall, I think he can. I think he can handle that time, and I think on the power play he will prove to be very efficient
Hmm.
on the power play, right?
Hmm.
And then so that's the first 2 lines, and then the third line they have Braden Shen with Barbashev and Neighbors, right? Then they have Brown with Walker and Akari on the fourth line. I actually think Brown would probably play wing on that. I think Akari would probably be the better center.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Even at his age, he's a better
Right?
center.
Well, and a lot of people have said this. One of the issues with Brown is not a fourth line player. Brown is a third line or a second line player, but he's got he has
Well,
this air, and I've talked to somebody else about this. Well, my dad was an NHL player, so I know what I'm doing. You can't teach me, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
and even in Ottawa when they were bad and he was there, he was fourth line. He played on their fourth line, sometimes the third when they needed him to. I don't, from watching Ottawa when he was there, I don't think I ever saw him on a second line.
yeah, no, I would like to. I'd rather see him on a third line. To be
Yeah,
honest,
it
but
just depends on who
here's
you
what I
put him
think.
with.
Right? Here's what I think. I think you give Neighbors the first 9 games, right? And then you send him down to the AHL, and then Bolduc, who has to go to his junior team, right? Because he's under 20. You hold on to him for a little bit. You let him go to his juniors, but then you pull him back if you can, right? And let him get his 9 games there. Or better yet, you let Bolduc get the first 9 games, send Neighbors to the AHL. Bolduc gets his 9, you send him to his minors, and then you bring Neighbors up.
Well, I don't think Bolduc's even ready for 9 games. I just don't. The talent he played against in juniors is decent, but I mean, it's Neighbors is a much better player than him in my mind,
Yeah,
and Neighbors at times looked really out of place with the Blues. People will argue with me and say he looked great, but I'm going to tell you right now, I was told before the 9 games, if Nate we're going to give Neighbors the 9 games, and if he impresses us, he's got a roster spot. Well, apparently he didn't impress them.
no, I think that's the best way to do it. I think Bolduc. I think they'd like to see Bolduc. I think they'd like to give him the 9 games because you know what? Once you send him down to juniors, you can't really bring him up,
Nope.
right? So give him the 9 games now. Let him have the 9 games because it doesn't hurt sending, um, sending Neighbors down to the AHL for the first couple of games and then bringing him back, right? Um, I don't see Tarasenko and O'Reilly on the same line either,
No.
right? I just don't think that their games play off of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tarasenko needs a passer, and in all due respect, O'Reilly is not known for his playmaking ability, right? Am I wrong? Is he more of a playmaker than I think? I don't think he's a playmaker. I think he's too much of a two-way forward.
I think he's a playmaker. He's just not an elite playmaker. You know, but his strength is it's the two-way game, and does he make some great plays and passes? And yeah, he does that. But if somebody said, do you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, is Ryan O'Reilly a a playmaker? I'd give him a 6 or 7. I wouldn't give him a 9 or 10.
I'd go less than that. I'd give him a four or
I'd
a
give him a
five, to be
6. I'd give
honest.
him a 6.
Right? I mean, how
I
many
give him a
assists
six
did he
because
have last year?
I think he's above average. That's why I give him a 6.
Right? I don't think he had a lot of assists last year. I mean, well, he had 20 something goals. I think he was in the 50. So he might have had 30 assists,
He
but
had 30 something assists.
right, but you know, the thing with the Blues is, and this is something that I think people don't understand. Everyone, you look at other teams, you look at all these 100-point players are having, and more. The NHL had more 100-point players this year than they've had in a very, very long time.
Hmm.
Right, a very long time, and I get that. But what I think gets missed is you look at those teams, you go down to the 100 points, then 50, 60, 70. You know, there's a drop off. The Blues didn't have that. I mean, they had 9 guys in the 50-point range. I think it was something like that, right? It was some crazy number about how many they actually had in the 50-point
Yeah.
range. I think they had more than any other team, or at least tied with Colorado
Yeah, it
for
was
most
9 or 10.
50-point guys, right?
It was 9 or 10. Yeah, you know,
I'm trying to bring it up.
another thing people don't realize, Guy, there are some teams that their lines are pretty much set. You know, and you can say some good things about a coach that does that because it gets players to get familiar with each other. But I've always been the kind of person you do have set lines, but when you see something's not working, you say, "Hey, I think this guy could mix it up a little bit and get this line going." And then the Blues have so many players that can go from 1 to 3, from first to the third line, and to me, that's pretty rare on a team.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. The Blues do have, they got guys that can play all over the lineup
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
effectively, not just put them there to
Yep.
put them.
Yep.
Excuse me, I mean be effective.
What Doug Armstrong has done, and Berube's starting to buy into it. Doug Armstrong has built a team that is very solid. Got 3 great lines and a pretty dang good fourth line. And people say the fourth line this year isn't better, but like you and I just said, I think it's going to be. I think, and nothing against Bozak. Bozak was just getting older, and he wasn't that
Yeah,
guy anymore.
yeah.
I
I'm
think
with you.
their fourth
Right?
line's going to be better. Their defense with Letty coming back for another season, having that half season under his belt and Berube's system, he's going to be better. Um, and Krug and Falk, who've been better after their couple of years here, they're going to be better too. I mean, if you've ever watched Berube's system, even when he was in Philadelphia, when he was the coach of the first year, the defensemen looked lost. By the second season, they looked much better.
No, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you here. So I pulled up the stats. The Blues
Hmm.
had 8 guys with 50 points or more. The bottom one being David Perron with 57.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Right? You know, that's great. But then you look at right behind that, Saad had 49.
Yep.
Falk had 47 and missed games due to some injury. He only had 76 games, right? Krug, 64, had 43 points with 64 games. Krug is a 50-point guy. There's points to make up for what you're missing in Perron already, right? Parayko only had 6 goals, had 29 assists. I think Parayko's going to have a much better year.
I do too. I do too. And people don't understand is that back injury of his. And I'm about the same. He's a little bit taller than me. On skates, I'm 6'6". So on skates, I think he's 6'7", 6'8". And I'm going to tell you, when you play hockey, and as a goalie, as a defenseman, especially a defenseman, that's real hard on your body. That long back, because he's really tall from the waist up, Parayko is. And if you get a bad back and it starts hurting you, you're going to notice it. And I think he was hurt for probably 50, 60 games of the season last year.
Yeah. I think that there was, I don't want to say hurt, but I think there still was some stiffness. I think there was things that weren't all there, that he wasn't, the range of motion might not have been the same. And I remember when I had, oh man, I just went complete Panger on, and Panger talked about Bouwmeester in the same way.
Yep.
Right. He said that Bouwmeester, I knew Bouwmeester was hurt.
Yeah, and if you remember it, I told you that year. I said, "Guy, watch Bouwmeester when he skates on that 1 foot. It's like he's a horse trying to come off of a broken leg, and he just didn't have that speed he had anymore."
And in 19 that flopped.
Yep,
in 19, right. The beginning of 19, that changed. He got healthy.
It did. Yep.
Right? He got healthy. In 18, 19, he got healthy. And it was obvious.
Obvious,
right?
Yes, it was.
Because the defense got much better. And here's the thing. Now you're going to have, I can see, our buddy, Jeremy Rutherford has Letty being with Parayko. I got to tell you something. I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I like that. And Krug with Falk. I like that a lot. And then Scandella or Bortuzzo with, Scandella, Bortuzzo, Mikkola, and Prunovich kind of bouncing around the bottom four.
Yeah, and you know what? I like that better. I like that much better than Parayko Scandella.
Yeah. Right? Well, the thing is, and he still talks about the possibility of trading Scandella. And he talks about the possibility of trading Barbashev. And I got to be honest, I know because of my chess, the way I play chess, that I'm not a fan of sacrifices. Right? And no, I'm not. And it's why I have such a hard time. It's like in my fantasy league, right? I want way more for my goalie Forsberg than he's probably worth, because I know if I keep him, I'm doing better. Because we now have to have 2 goalies, right? So I have 3 goalies and 2 of them are going to see significant time. I have Bennington, Allen, and Forsberg, Anton Forsberg, right? Forsberg could see a lot of time in Ottawa, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you, Montreal has had talks about trading Jake Allen.
Yeah, well, no, Allen is not Allen. I mean Elliott.
Elliott, yeah.
I have Brian Elliott, right? Yeah, no, I actually do think that Montreal is going to trade Allen.
I do too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not going to get much for him.
No,
and I feel sorry for the guy because he's a good goalie.
He's. You know what? When he's got a decent, I'm not even saying good. When he's got a decent team in front of him, he's a very good goalie.
Right. Braden Shen, there's more to have there as well. He was playing hurt last year.
He was.
I think he was playing hurt late in the year, not for the beginning of the year, though.
No, it wasn't the beginning. I would say probably, I think he started showing from watching him. I noticed at the end of January, 1st of February.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, February or March is where that team took a dive. Right? And March to me was the month that they could have solidified themselves as a top team in the league, and they didn't. They took a dump. But they got back in April. Great. I love them for it. However, that swoon in April killed them, and actually, or not in April, in March killed them. And this is where I start noticing the hole in Husso. right?
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think, and, a lot of people don't look at this. You look at Husso from March to April, and his numbers just they skyrocketed
Mm.
compared to his December or January and February numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I do think that Bennington suffered from some COVID flog, and I also think that hopefully the knee injury isn't too bad. And I really don't think it was. I think it was just it was a low grade tear. A sprain is a low grade tear, right?
Yep. Yep.
And those usually heal themselves rather quickly and
Yeah.
without lingering an effect.
Yeah, and it that injury for goalies is a very common injury, and most of the time, like you said, it's not a full tear. It will heal itself with time, and
Yeah.
as long as he's rehabbing fine, he's going to be. I'm expecting a big year from Jordan Bennington.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I think Bennington. I think Bennington could have a Venza type of season.
He could.
I think he could get 35 to 40 wins.
He could.
I really do. I think he can have the shutouts. He is a type of goalie that can get the shutouts.
He's
Right?
the type
I
of
like
goalie
what he
that,
does.
that like all the greats, when they get going, man, you can tell it. I mean, you can just tell by the way they're seeing the puck, what angles they're taking, the confidence while they're in the crease. Not coming out too much, not staying back too much. And Jordan Bennington is one of those goalies that when he's making mistakes, dang, it's clear. But man, when he's on, it's clear too.
No, it is, and I'm with you. Chris Shockey says that Chicago game he broke ribs when he hit the
Yep.
birds.
He's talking
Oh,
about
okay, I know what he's
Shin.
talking about. Okay,
Shin.
with Shin now. Okay,
Yep. I'm talking about Shin.
you're right. I remember that now. Okay. Um, said
I
three different.
I don't know how he did it. I tried to play with a broken rib as a goalie.
Yeah,
And people say you're nuts because you're going to get hit. Well, I had enough protection that if did it hurt a little bit, yeah, but just the breathing in and out, and the doctors tell you now don't tape them because people are getting pneumonia.
yeah.
They want you to breathe in and out. And I'm going to tell you right now, having a broken rib, if you people out there that's never had one, it's not fun.
No, I haven't broken him, but I have had bruised. I've had bruised ribs and lungs. I fell through a deck plate
I've
and
broken
caught
it.
it right on my rib.
It hurt,
And
didn't
I
it?
actually bent my rib in. I didn't break it, but I bent it in, and it was on my lung,
Oh,
for about 3 weeks.
that's the one I broke towards the bottom, one of the top two
No,
ribs
mine,
there.
mine was, and I'll stand up to show you.
Yep.
Mine was right here.
Mine was the one right above it.
Yeah, right here.
Yep. Yep.
So that one was actually wrapped onto my lung, and if I took a deep breath, I could feel it puncturing my lung. And here's the thing: they made me go to work. They made me stay on the ship and work for them 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
There were days I was in a shit ton of pain.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the
I would be willing to bet you weren't real talkative those days with your other your crewmates.
No, I wasn't. In here's the thing: they gave me shit for it. They called me weak and all kinds of other things, man.
That's the Navy guy, you know that.
It's just the way it is back then. They used to say Iron Men wooden ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just the way it was. And no, I'm not a man. I was not one of the Iron Men. That shit hurt like really bad. Even bruised rubs are painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Right,
Shockey says had 5-mile run the day after breaking a rib. Yeah, that's not fun. Right? No, I'm with you, man. Worst I ever been though, I broke my shoulder in a car accident, and they didn't know it was broken. So I broke I broke the ball, the top of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I had a X-type fracture on it.
Ugh.
And they didn't know about it, and they sent me. I was underway, and I left my codeine. I shouldn't have been underway. I was on codeine.
Mm-hmm.
And on codeine, you're not supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling every single day. For a while there, I was in so much pain. And when they finally figured out that I broke it 2 years later, I had a calcium buildup. Like a little mound, it looked like candy corn almost.
Yeah. You want to talk about Kostin a little bit more, because I know some people are probably wondering what's going on with him.
Yeah,
You
we can
mentioned
talk
him at
about
the
Kostin.
beginning.
Sorry, there's nobody. See, you want to know why they went off the rails, guys? Because you aren't commenting. If you commented, I'd have more shit to talk about. When you don't comment, and Sato, just with the potential new Cardinal, won the home run derby. So there you go. Kostin is an interesting case to me.
Yep.
Right? For me, now you and me see Kostin differently.
Well,
right?
I think we do agree on one thing. If they give him an opportunity this year, he definitely should be gone. You and I both agree with that. I just didn't want him gone last year. If they give him another 50 games this year, 60 games, yeah, I've got no problems with him getting rid of him. I just wanted him to get some more games and see what he can really do being a year older because he's so young. And some of these young guys, it takes them a while to come from Russia and play over here because I know people think the KHL is very close to the NHL, but it's not, guys. It's not the same game by far.
Here's my issue with Kostin. In the KHL, Kostin wins a championship.
MVP. Yep, and an MVP.
Right? In the AHL, he gets within a couple of games of winning a championship. This guy's been on 2 back-to-back, basically championship teams. Okay? He comes up and he looks overmatched. Consistently overmatched. The Blues, in my eyes, are still a championship caliber team. If you won championships, and I don't care what level you win it at, and this is where Anthony Lupo would be throwing shit in my face right now. I don't care where you won it at. You'll learn how to win it. You know how to play that level and that quality and what it takes. Every time I see him up, I just don't feel like he does it. I don't feel like he does it. He was up for 50 games this season, and I can't remember him physically being up. I remember him being down more than being up. 50 games is more than half the season, and I still feel like he wasn't here.
He was here for 50 games, but when Berube did play him, he did not play very many minutes. He did not get very many minutes. And, you remember a guy when Kyrou first came into the league and Thomas both, they looked a little confused defensively, especially. And Thomas took some bad penalties. Kyrou took some stupid penalties, gave up some pucks. Both of them did. Kostin, I think, is in that same boat. Am I saying Kostin can be a 60, 70-point guy? I don't know that. I think in the right system, he might grow to that. But, I want the guy to get one more chance. And I like him as a player. And if the Blues move on from him, I wish him the best of luck. And he's got to prove something this year. I do agree with you on that.
Okay, no, I was wrong. He had 40 games.
Yeah, 40 games.
He had 40 games. He had 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, -3.
Look at his average ice time.
9 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, as a player, I've seen guys come in that play 8 to 10 minutes, and some guys have a hard time. When he was in the AHL, he's playing major minutes. When he was in the KHL, he's playing major minutes.
Yeah, but he hasn't earned the minutes up here yet.
Hey,
That's what I'm saying. If you don't want to play the 10 minutes, earn it.
Yeah, I didn't say he had earned it. I just said that's what he did in the other leagues, and he's just not been able to get to that point to where he's warranted to play 16 minutes a game.
All right. Kenny Grote, our buddy from Kenny's down under, if I remember right. Playing any sport with broken ribs. I played a quarter of AFL footy with 2, and the breathing is hard. Yes, it is. Hey, we got a guest. Lance, are you ready? I think you'll like this one. It's Shagalicious.
Hey, Shag.
How we doing, guys? How we doing?
Hey.
We are doing good, Shaggy. We are doing good. Been talking a lot of Blues hockey. How are you and Ranger fans doing right now? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you? What's your overall opinion on the way things have gone for the Rangers as of right now?
Okay, so this has been really a very, in a sense, a weird offseason because we let go a lot of the players that have really, really caused problems, yet we re-signed a guy like Hayek, who really has done nothing on the team. So I don't understand that. I understand that they needed a little bit of depth, but Hayek is not a guy that you really needed in that spot. You could have signed somebody else that is probably better than Hayek, and Hayek has proven that he doesn't know what he's doing on the ice. So I'm not really sure what's going on over there. But, they signed, they signed a guy like Vincent Trocheck who takes a spot of Ryan Strome, who I'll take anybody over him. And their lines look pretty good, but I almost feel like they didn't get better. They didn't make themselves a better team than last year. I think they feel like with Lafreniere, coming out as this pretty good player, and with Hedl coming out as a pretty good player, they sort of took a step back from their offseason. Whereas if Lafreniere and Hedl did not play well and they were out in the first or second round, they would have been a little more aggressive in going after maybe a Johnny Gaudreau or somebody or someone to just try to get that big name in there. But they were not up to that because they were really more up to just like seeing what's going on over here, what's happening. So, this is just what's going on. This is just how the Rangers offseason focus has changed. We'll see if they could, at the end of the day, really bring it to the next level. That is, does a guy like Kravtsov come up and bring the team to the next level? So I don't think they've gotten better, but I think they've filled their spots and haven't gotten worse, which is important, by the way, which means that the offseason didn't kill them, which means the offseason didn't ruin them. They didn't make bad mistakes, but I don't think they made themselves the next level. We'll see if maybe these rookies take the next level, like Lafreniere, and if they re-sign Kakko, if they take the next level and take that position of being even better players. But we'll see what happens with that. That's more of an in-season look.
Yeah, so it's basically kind of a wait and see attitude, like a lot of teams fans are having now. One question I have, Shaggy, and I know a lot about Kevin Hayes in Philadelphia. I probably don't see him as much as you do. I've had 3 or 4 Blues fans tell me today that the Blues should go after him. I don't think they should because, number one, they don't have the cap. They'd have to move some pieces. And number 2, I don't know if he fits the Blues style of play, and I don't know if he's really worth $7.14 million.
Oh, okay. So Kevin Hayes is a player I actually really loved on the Rangers. I like the speed he plays. He's actually a player that I would love to see on many teams. He's a player that is not worth it to go after. And let me explain to you why. When you're trying to win a cup and you bring in a guy like Kevin Hayes, I don't feel like you're becoming better or anything. You're bringing just maybe the guy's specific energy in there or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin Hayes has not exactly shown you, even when he was on the Flyers, to be an effect on the ice of recent. And although he does add a speed to the game and he has a lot of experience and he's a veteran in a sense, there's left and right Kevin Hayes now. You don't need to bring that in. You have much younger players that you could bring up from the lower Blue system in order to take a Kevin Hayes spot up. Kevin Hayes is a player that belongs on a team where either he belongs on a championship team. We're talking about like the top highs, where he's playing with already players that are way beyond him, where he's just there to, like if he went to the Lightning, I would understand. Like that's a team that's already next level. So he's just adding in that thing. Or he would go to a team like the Kraken who could just use any player who has got any type of talent, So he's not a player coming to a Blues team that's really looking for the next level piece, even if he's not the great piece. Let's say you brought in a fantastic speed guy. He's not the greatest scorer or something like that. That's good. But Kevin Hayes is not. There's a million of those. For the amount of money you're paying for Kevin Hayes, you could get a bunch of guys that just could skate fast.
Yeah. And also, in the draft a couple years ago, people thought I was nuts because I picked Kakko over Hughes, and I said at the time I would take Kakko any day over Hughes, and 15 years from now we'll be saying Kakko had a better career. Are they going to re-sign him like you were talking earlier? And do you think he can be better than Hughes? Because I definitely thought he would be.
So Kakko is actually the most confusing thing hockey fans should understand. It is the most obvious move to resign the guy.
Yeah.
And they haven't resigned him, which makes absolutely no freaking sense.
And he's cheap. He's going to be cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, you could add to every contract, you could always add like goals. And you could say, we'll pay you more for that.
Yeah.
You could literally do that to him. And he'll be very happy to take a deal like that. It makes no sense. Now,
I think right now,
one thing, the reason why they haven't resigned him.
I think right now, Kakko is one of those Russians that you can get cheap, because if you can get him, there's a good chance that the Russians are going to pull him back over. Right? No, I'm serious. I'm serious. If he doesn't get a contract. I told you last time, we can't get involved with that whole story because we don't know what's going to play out.
there's at least 3 months till then. We have to see what pulls out in 3 months. So
you know what?
I'm not worried about the Russian
you
part.
have to. I think you need to be forward thinking in this. Now, Kako is
no, but that's not the point. That's not the point with a guy like Kako, who's a rookie in the system, who most probably is living in America, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
With the way he is, because he's a rookie. Okay, he's living in America. He's not going out to Russia. And most probably at this point, as a guy his age, I understand that getting pulled back or things like that. I don't think they're trying to really do that to every single hockey player out there. It happened with one, so now we're afraid it's happening to more. I think at a certain point, they're just going to break that off. Something's going to happen. They're going to work something out. It's going to be very important for people to realize that a guy like Kako is going to be a good player. It's taken him a long time to really develop because I think the Rangers have been focusing on trying to build a winning team over developing their players. We discussed this mid-season. Mid-season, we discussed, what do? Do you go after the win where you just, say I'm selling out and I'll trade a guy like Kako because I have to re-sign him in the offseason? Or do you say, well, you know what? We're really a development team. We weren't meant to be good this year, so let's keep our players and see what they got. So the Rangers instead were smart. They didn't trade any pieces that were major. They kept everything that was important, and they actually made the third round. Look at that. They made the right move. Now, this season, they have to already go back and decide. So we made the third round. Was that us taking to the next level, but we have to realize we're young? Or, no, we have to go win now. So that's the same exact question that you have to realize. So if that's the question, so let's think about it. Do you sign or re-sign a guy like Kako? Or do you say, you know what? I'd rather not re-sign him because if we don't do well this season, I could re-sign anyway some of my players I have now and make big moves next offseason.
You know what I think is the best move to make here? I think you sign him and you don't give him the NTC and then trade him. Because if you sign him, you're going to get him – first, you're going to get the best value out of him. The hometown discount. He's still an RFA. He's still young. You can sign him now and get that term and that money to where you can have a lot of value for him.
Yeah, and right now the people in New York that I know somebody in the Rangers organization, they're thinking, they want to give him somewhere between 2.2 and 2.6 million. And I think if they could get him for that, that's a great deal because I know they're in this win now mode, and it was great to see them get to the third round. And it was a tough choice for me to pick them coming from the East or the Lightning. I picked the right team, I guess, eventually. But, like you said a couple days ago or last week, they're going to have a lot of decisions to make over the next couple of years, Shag. And, I think they're going to need some of these young guys to be there.
Right. Well, that's a good point. That's true, right? You have a lot of decisions. I said already that they have a lot of decisions to do. Signing Kako is the obvious move. It's the obvious move. And not only that, there's another player out there that really needs to be re-signed with Tyler Mott because of what he added to this team. Yep. And he's a guy where I'm so surprised he hasn't been signed yet. The question is if he's asking for too much money. But a guy like Kako is going to be around, in my opinion, I think you could get him at around 2.5, 2.4. Yep, exactly. I don't think 2.3. I think he's going to run a little bit to the higher 2 point. And especially because you have, where he was picked. And he's going to probably try to get around 2.4, 2.5. And the question really is if what they're holding out on is maybe on some other moves. And This is where I put in the Drury factor. And that is that Drury likes to sometimes give a little bit of stress to us. And he starts, and in my opinion, it's not a stress. I think Drury overthinks sometimes. And he knows the obvious moves. And he says, well, look, if I can't work this, and this out, I'm re-signing him. It's an easy move. So they probably have told Kako, look, we're working on a couple of things, but we have a contract waiting for you. So, unless someone offers you crazy money, we do have a contract for you. It's very possible maybe they're looking at some trade moves. Is it a JT Miller? Is it someone else that they see on their mind where they're going, you know what, let's look at this. Do we have another move in us that we could, keep in the cap space, make ourselves a better team, and we might have to give up on a Kako or maybe make space to sign the Kako, but still, there might be something else up their sleeve. There's a lot of teams right now. This is where the moves sometimes are made, especially, a team like the Blues and the Rangers, who are both teams looking for that maybe one more piece. Those are teams right now. Right now, they might be quiet. You might not hear anything. You'll be screaming your head off. Oh, it's been this amount of days and hours since you haven't signed this guy, and you should trade for that. Sometimes they're working things out. It could take time. It could take, to make a trade. I don't think people realize this. To make a trade, it first of all involves with you contacting the other team and making good contact with them. That means you first may want to have like maybe a good relationship with them. You take them out to dinner, the other agent or something. And then you have to have the player agree to go to your team. If you do even come up with a trade within a week. And even if the team says, oh, we don't care, we're just going to trade the guy. If you're trying to trade for JT Miller and he says, look, I'm no way going to the Rangers. And they say, well, anyone's going to give us anyways good, we're going to get something good back for him anyways. So they're not going to trade him there, right? They're not, it's their player. They have a good relationship with him. They're not just going to throw him out on the boat and try to make some type of heat between things, So trades could take time. And so this is the moment where you have quiet and expect within the next week something to come up.
No, I like JT Miller to the Rangers. I like that a lot. And I think the Rangers have something like, I honestly think that Kakko would do better outside of New York than inside of New York.
That's actually an interesting statement because I don't like JT Miller's. I don't like his presence in the locker room. He's been here before. Okay, I know what he's like. He's not a guy I want in my locker room, and Kakko's a guy I wouldn't want in my locker room. So if he's a guy,
that was the guy you had before, not the guy you have now, and it sounds like he's a different locker room guy. At least that's the feeling I
don't do that. Hello, I don't give a guy a chance where I say, "Oh, your personality changed. Now I'm going to bring you back." I don't do that. I'm looking for some guy that with my team. The Rangers have excellent chemistry in the locker room. Part of what they have been excellent is many Ranger games. You watch the first period, and after the first period, half of the fans are turning off the game and going, "We're down 2-0. That's it." And they end up winning the game 5-2. And that's how they win it. But that's locker room chemistry. That's coming back out with the right play, with the right attitude, with the right captain inside. They don't have a captain. Guess what? If they would make a captain, I think that they would. It's either someone that's not on the team now, or it's someone on the team that we're not going to expect. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be the person with the most locker room presence because that's how they get out of the locker room. Now, you mentioned that Kakko would do better outside of New York. I highly agree on that. But I also think that for his best interest, he should stay in one system. When a guy leaves at that age to another system, that's why there's like a guy like Connor Geeky, who I saw was signed by the Coyotes. I see in my mind like you were just on the Kraken. You now moved to the Coyotes. I know you're good, but you're not going to develop more because you're not in systems. You're not staying with one system. I know people discuss loyalty problems. This is not a loyalty problem. This is a developmentary problem when you move a team and you move from style of play to style of play, the other style of play might be better, but again, you're starting from scratch of that style of play. Stick to one type of style, stick to one team, and you'll do much better. Players that are traded or players that are moved are many times players that maybe don't have that or players who are good enough that they could anyways move to that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing here, and I'll let Guy talk after this. And, when the Golden Knights fired Gerard Gallant, I told everybody, I said, the team he's going to go to is going to have a good season because he's a very good coach. And did the people in New York expect this out of Gerard Gallant this quickly?
Not at all. I was surprised. I'm not a Gallant fan, okay?
Okay, I am, but...
Okay, I'm saying here's why, okay? And even this year, I'll tell you, I saw it in him. Gallant has an interesting way of working where if he likes a player, he'll play him, even if he's not good on the ice.
That's true. Yep, that is true.
And that's a problem. I don't like that. In my way of being a coach, here's how I look at it. I look at it as the way Joe Girardi a little bit on the Yankees used to look at it. Mm-hmm. If you're doing good, I'm playing you more. If you're not doing well, I'm going to give you a day off here and there. I'm going to try to get you into the right spot. When you have a player not playing well and you just like him, so you put him in, that's terrible. You can't do that. And he did that more than once. And you can't break up a line that you're like, well, I'm going to try to make up a switch. So Kakko's not going to start game 7. Excuse me?
Yep, that was a bad move.
Excuse me? I'm sorry. Even if he did something in the locker room and you were like, okay, we're not able to play you. It's game 7 with a chance to go to the cup. Play the person who's going to do well and make your team better.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So I've given this some thought. There is a move that the Rangers could make that would make them better. I mean, make them really better. And it would involve a $0 cap hit.
Okay, I'm listening.
Right? And I know this is gonna you when I say it, you're gonna think I'm absolutely nuts and out there. But what do you think the Rangers themselves might be missing?
Probably a slap shot scorer.
I was thinking a little bit of cohesiveness. I was thinking a little bit of togetherness, a little bit of that camaraderie, because the Kako thing tore that locker room apart in Game 7, because you heard it afterwards, after they lost. You could hear it in their voices. They may not have said it. You could hear it in their voices. They weren't happy with it. There was a lot of things going on. What is the one thing that the Rangers don't have that every other team in the league has?
Really, maybe it's that passing, that special passing to get the score.
You got to think way outside the box, Shaggy.
I'm trying to think.
Way outside the box. There's one thing that the Rangers don't have that the 31 other teams have.
Empty net goals.
Nope. Do you know what it is, Lance?
What is it?
I don't know, a guy like Pat Maroon?
No. A mascot.
Oh, God.
No. Hear me out. There is, I think I lost Shaggy.
You did not lose me. You lost me.
Hear me out.
One second. Let's have a guy moment here. 1 second. The best player on the Rangers. 1 second. I got this. The best player on the Rangers has to be the mascot. As I said before, when he was the coach of the Flyers.
What does it do? What does it do? What would, think about this. When Gritty was introduced, how much of the press went on Gritty and away from the Flyers and the bad season they were having?
So you're saying you're comparing a Rangers team to the Flyers?
Hold on. You gotta let me. Hold on. Right now, what is the number one media market? How many daily newspapers does New York City have? What's it, like 6, 7 right now?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys have, the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils. They have 6 to 7 guys that follow the team regularly. Right? Just from the newspapers. That's not counting the TV stations. Okay? They are a media tinderbox. If you could take some of that off the team and let this team develop, because they've lost some guys, so they need to redevelop. But this is a team that still has the talent to make the next level.
Okay.
You introduce
Let me
introduce a mascot.
Guy, this is something where I don't disagree with you. Okay, that could be something that could help, but I'm an analyst of the game, not an analyst of some move to get attention off my team. Because if I was trying to do that, I wouldn't sign a guy like Ryan Reeves, because Ryan Reeves is pretty much our mascot. Okay, so if you think like the Rangers don't think of those moves, they do think of those moves. Like, for example, the Rangers will sometimes turn the game on to, let's say, the rookie line, where instead, Zibanejad did a bad day that day. They'll make it look like Panarin stunk that day. They'll say he had an injury. Teams do these type of things. It's not like it's not there. I think the biggest problem maybe in the Rangers is the fact that they haven't really upgraded their depth. Is that they just made their depth back to what it is and didn't get better that way. Look at a team like the Blues. I say, well, they have their depth, but again, they were looking to maybe change things up with different players and bring some other guys in. That's a team that already, I think, is going to do well either way because they have a good team. So now a team like the Rangers, is just someone that they're really looking for the next level. I got to go, but I'll end off with this. The fact that the Rangers right now have not only signed one big name and didn't make any more moves than that is because they're worried about down the road. And so you have to look at this way. A team like the Blues, who's in a sense a win now, because you don't want to have to deal with, the Blues fans just like completely going out on their team of the past couple of years from winning the Cup. Like what happened to the team? They are a team that I think could make a huge effect, especially this year with, I think some of the better teams not going to be doing as well. So they'll be able to jump them. But they're going to have to, at least in my mind, be a big mid-season team. Okay? And I think it's very important that you realize that this year, there was a lot of mid-season moves. To Foley, to the Flames, to moves like that. When you see something like that happening, you see that teams are really, hey, Colin, you see that people are really focused on that mid-season grade, on that mid-season adding to their team in hockey. I think it's more than any other type of sport in which they are adding their final pieces. A team like the Blues, I don't think they add much more now. It's a question of them going to have to look in the halftime. All right, Guy, it's been awesome. I got to run.
Okay, Shaggy, thanks, buddy. Great talking to you. You know you're always welcome, right, man?
Yep.
All right. I'm very excited. I love coming on to talk with Guy because Guy gets me riled up.
And I get what you're saying, Shaggy. I know that's. I wanted to think way outside the box because when you think outside the box, sometimes things click, and it's. But
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. The one reason why I like to stick within the box is because when that box gets taped shut, you're going to be left out. I'm inside the box and I'm there.
Yeah, well, you know what? I spent a lot of time on the ocean, so I know what it's like to be in the box and out of the box. No, and I don't know, Lance. I know it sounds crazy, but when you think about it, New York is a different market than anywhere else.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is.
And look, LA is almost as big as New York, but the media is not the same as the New York
media. Nope,
it's
not. Totally different. Totally different.
The closest thing to the New York media would be Toronto or Montreal in the NHL.
I agree. I fully agree. Yep.
So if you've got this media, harping on you and harping on you and harping on you, the media can tear your locker room apart a little bit. Guy, you know what? If you think guys say that they don't pay attention to that as horseshit, that's horseshit. And I'll tell you something. I know for a fact in the in the Blues Lounge in Blues Nation, every one of the Blues beat writers has a burner account in that group.
Yes,
and
they do.
4 or 5 players are in those two groups with burner accounts. They pay attention. That shit matters. I'm sorry, it matters. They pay attention. You know why they pay attention? Because that's what they use when it comes to contract negotiations. Look at the fan base. They love me. They use that stuff for, that's what Perron used. That was one of the things I think Perron used was the fan base. And I think that's why he came out with that not formally offered, to make sure he didn't lose the fan base. Right? And if you can do something that opens up and takes away the concept or takes away that magnifying glass from the team, to something different. When Gritty came out, has, you know what? I didn't like Gritty. I thought he was ugly. He took all the media attention. I mean, hell, they made an NHL.com or an NHL network commercial with him. Right off the bat. I mean, they were something that the spotlight shifted away, and it gave Carter Hart some chance to develop without all the media attention on him. Right? I think that has a lot to do with it. Oh wow, Kaapo Kähkönen signs with the Sharks for 2.75. Wow, what a steal. What a steal. This was the guy that was the netminder for the
Wild.
Minnesota Wild, yeah.
Yep.
That's a steal. At 2.75, I think that's a steal for him. I think he's a $3 to $4 million guy. Right? I really do. I think he's better than people are giving him credit for. Right? It doesn't. Yeah, he does look like something from a B horror movie of the 50s. I get it, but he took, and even now, when his antics take some of that media pressure off of the team, and it helps. It really does help.
Hey,
And in a market like New York,
it's just like a family. If you've got that drunk uncle, he takes all the attention away from you and all of your faults, and that drunk uncle gets all of them.
yeah, and it does, and it does take some of that. It does move some of that, and then it gives you a chance to reset, to breathe, to take some. Okay, they're not now. I'm not being talked about. You're not waking up in the morning and seeing your name in the newspaper every morning because you screwed up or the fan base wants you gone. The Tarasenko, I'll give Tarasenko a ton of freaking credit. That dude could have just said, "F it, I'm done. I'm gone." He didn't. He didn't. He was able to turn that out, turn it out, turn the media out for the most part, and get to work. And day one, that fan base knew something was up because when he came out, I could have told you the over under of him being booed, like how long it would take before he get booed.
I remember
it was like a minute. It was like a minute.
I remember us talking about it, and we both agreed he'd get cheered more than he got booed. And Guy, I
Right?
remember you and I talked about it in the summer during training camp, and you talked to him, and you said Tarasenko's going to have a good year.
I knew it. I knew talking to him, and I knew that just had this feeling that the guy had something special in him.
I think he felt like he's got something to prove. And I think if a player, I don't necessarily say play with a chip on your shoulder all the time, but if you play with, you feel like, hey, I've got something to prove, it can be a huge motivator for you.
He's got a chip on his shoulder. It's not as big as it was last year, but it's still there.
Yeah, I would say it's used to be the size of a Ruffles. Now it's more like a corn chip size.
No, I think originally it was the size of a team bus. Now it's maybe the size of a limo, but it's still there and it's still big, right? I think it's still when you say corn chip, you're talking about something that doesn't matter. I think it's a big enough chip on his shoulder that it matters. This guy, he does something that I've never seen a player do before, right? And we're talking 100 years of the NHL. Right now, they haven't been doing media for 100 years, but the interviews and things like that. When he's a star of the game, when he comes to do an interview, that building erupts in a chant that he hates. Remember this: he doesn't like the name Vladdy. He said it. Doesn't like nicknames. Okay, said that. Yet this building erupts in that chant, and the first thing he says in every single interview is, "Thank you, fans. I hear you. You're the greatest. We play for you." He says that every single time. And then remember the one with the girl that was, obviously she was somewhat special because she was in the special box that the Blues have that's right there between the benches.
Yeah.
Right, and he goes over there and gives her a stick, the tears going down. Yeah. Down her face and all of that. He didn't even think twice about that. This guy knows how to talk and I remember when I was in the lounge, I wish I still was, but he would constantly you'd see pictures of, oh, look who I saw at the grocery store, look who I saw at the gas station. Right? Constantly. Yeah, Ari too. How his relationship with her.
Yeah, I really miss that young lady. She was such a sweet little girl. And remember when they took her out to Phoenix that time that she was there for the game?
Phoenix in Colorado. Yep.
That was just really nice. And when she died, it was really heartbreaking. I'm going to tell you something, guys, to show you what great NHL players are. Everyone in that locker room was hurt when that poor young girl died.
Do you know what Tarasenko did the night that they won the cup? He did something the night they won the cup that didn't get talked about. He texted Ari's mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He texted Ari's mom and said that was for her.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she's watching. I hope she was watching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He absolutely texted his mom. That's how close they are. That's how much and how important it is.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you, yeah, you might see some guys in professional sports, they really treat their young fans and their sick fans, really, really well. But what other player, and I'm sure it may have happened other times that we don't know about, but what other player after winning the hard, and I don't care what anybody says, I'll argue this to my death, the NHL Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win,
Oh, I
period.
agree.
And how many guys right after winning it are going to call the mom of this young girl that inspired the Blues years before but died? I mean, how many guys would do that, guy?
Yeah, especially with the oh, and I just went blank. Layla,
Yeah,
especially with Layla, right?
yeah,
The Layla, the way that exploded
yep.
and blew up.
She was on the ice, and Pareko wanted her to have the puck and
Yeah.
or the cup, and he
Oh,
he
yeah.
helped her hold the cup, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was
So
crying, and he was crying.
yeah, so but it was still that Vladdy still had that connection.
Yep,
Poroshenko is one of those guys that absolutely
gets
plays
it.
for the city.
Yeah, he gets it.
And you know what? And I've said this, and I'll keep saying this. That trade shit got so blown out of proportion.
Oh, we both know that.
Right? You remember when it came out, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, Lance.
Well, you and I both said the same thing.
Yeah, I told you. I think I told you in a private text. This is horseshit.
Yep, yep. And
Right?
I said, yes, it is.
that something about it just didn't sound right.
Oh, and one more thing before I forget. I hope people know that Tarasenko just didn't call her mom that night. He has stayed in contact with her
Oh
mother.
yeah, yeah. He has. He absolutely has. Right? He has. He didn't have to spend 10 minutes during his practice, right? Of his own. That's his own time. That's his time. He spent 10 minutes to talk to me.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do that, but he did, and he did it graciously. And he told me, and I told him it was off the record, and I have not repeated anything that he said to me.
No, and guys, I will tell you, he hasn't even told me, so I don't even know what was all said to him. So,
Right? I haven't. I've kept everything that was said. I've hinted, but I've kept basically what was said to me.
and you know what? Even if let's say Tarasenko does get moved, let's just say that, and he doesn't finish his career here, I have a strange feeling he will be back here because he's more part of this community, I think, than some of the people, and I'm not bashing on these other people, some of these other guys that played here for 6-7 years that come back here, and I think that's great. But I think Tarasenko is even more of the community. People don't realize that guy because you know why? I'm going to tell you why. I know of a ton of charity stuff he does. It's never in the paper. The Blues never put it out because he's not the kind of person to want to take praise for it.
Yep. Right. And you know, he put a thing on his Instagram. I mean, he doesn't do Instagram a lot, but he put a thing on a couple weeks ago. You know, it was a picture of a resort, and I think it's in the Bahamas or maybe in Florida, right? The weather didn't look that great, so I had there on Twitter. There, I was in a thread or something, and there's a Ranger fan that absolutely believes that Tarasenko is going to be on the Rangers no matter what, and he keeps bringing it up and bringing it up. And then today, this was what brought all this on. What absolutely brought all this on in one of the groups. And I don't I know who posted it, but I'm not going to say his name because I know he watches the show at times, and I don't want to call him out. But he posted this meme or this article somewhat that Tarasenko, the Islanders and somebody, it was actually from last year. It wasn't new. It was from last year. I hate the site it was on. I went to that site just to double check if there was something new, and there was nothing new. Someone took something from last year and recycled it. Well, then it gets everybody going. Well, here's the thing. And I ask each and every one of you that watches this show, if you see something like that and you have a question, do two things. First of all, open it up and read the freaking article. And second, ask me. Because I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you if I think it's a credible article. I'll tell you if I think it's junk. Ask Marianne Holmes. She has sent me stuff, and I've told her it was shit.
Yeah, I get stuff all the time.
Much to do nothing. She sent me something.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I get stuff all the time, and I got stuff from somebody today about Tarasenko on the Islanders, and I told them, listen, the Blues have talked to the Islanders ever since this whole so-called Tarasenko demand happened, and the Islanders have tried to work out a deal for Tarasenko. And would it shock me if they're still talking to the Blues? No. But just because if they are talking to the Blues, it doesn't mean Tarasenko's getting traded imminently. It does not mean that. Because,
No.
Guy, people need to realize something. Doug Armstrong is on the phone constantly. He doesn't just take calls 2 or 3 times a year. He's on that phone constantly with
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah. You have to be. You have to be. You wouldn't be doing your due diligence if you
No.
didn't listen. If you didn't listen, unless the guy has a no movement clause
Mm-hmm.
and a full no movement, no waiver clause,
Mm-hmm.
nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
Right? The other thing, the other difference between the thing of, and I was talking about it yesterday, the no movement and the no trade, there is one difference I didn't mention.
Yep.
Right? With a no movement clause, you cannot be placed on waivers or have your contract bought out.
That is correct.
Right? With a no trade clause, you can be placed on waivers or have your
Yep,
contract bought out.
That's exactly
So
right.
that is something that I missed yesterday. I thought about, as we were talking, it bounced on me about that's the one thing that can definitely trade, right? I don't know, Lance. I think that the Blues are in a good spot. I think that they got better. I really do. I think that there's some addition by subtraction. I know I'm going to get grief on this. Moving Perron opens up playing time for guys that need it. And when Berube was forced to put those guys in those positions, they shined.
Mm-hmm.
It taught Berube that you got to give these guys chances. You got to open up the door to them and let them and let's see what they can do. Right?
Here's what it comes down to. The Blues didn't have enough money because, like you and I have said, if they had more cap space, Perron would still be on this team. I have no doubts about that. But the thing is, you get these players 34, 35, 36 years old, and they're wanting 3-4 year deals, 2 year deals with $1 million more than they're worth it. You've got to sit down at a GM and say, okay, I've got these young players. They're not seasoned, but I plan on relying on them heavily over the next 3 to 4 years. Do I overextend and pay this guy that I like and I think he'll be good for us? Or do I give these young guys some more time to be up here and to really learn the game? So 3 years from now, when I need them to be a big part of the team, they are a big part of the team. And that's the decision that Doug Armstrong had to make.
They got DeBrincat on with the Senators. They already got him his jersey. I mean, he's.
Yep.
I think DeBrincat's going to. I think the Senators. I like what they've done. I really do like what they've done, and I think that they can take a huge jump.
I think
season.
that was the dumbest move the Chicago Blackhawks have ever made on the ice. Off the ice, some of the moves with their legal issues recently, I'm not going to talk about that, but that is the dumbest on-ice move they've ever made. Because, when Wendy's on here, I go on and on about Alex DeBrincat. He is the real deal. He is a very good goal scorer.
Right? Let's see. Matt Lowe says, I agree 100%, Guy. We don't need a 34-year-old winger on this team. If it is Perron, too many guys knocking on the door. Yeah. That's the thing. I think that there's some addition by subtraction here. Right? And it is time. Like we talked about Kostin earlier. It is time for Kostin to shit or get off the pot.
I agree.
Okay? He's only going to do that if he gets the time. Well, here's the time. Perron's gone. Jake Neighbors, you know what? If you're that damn good and you can stay up, get out there in your 9 games and show it.
Yep.
Logan Brown. Logan, I love you to death, but whatever's holding you back, fix it and go out there and show it.
Yep.
And speak of the devil. You caught me on the back end, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
I'd invite you, but I'm not going to be here much longer.
I just talked about you.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of his ears are burning. He knew it.
I was talking about how the DeBrincat move has to be one of the worst Blackhawk moves ever.
Right. That might be one of the worst Chicago sports moves ever. The only move that I can think of that is worse. There's only one move in Chicago sports history that I can think is worse. You don't know it?
No, what's that?
The Lou Brock trade.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Right? See, Shockey got it. Shockey got it right off the bat. Yeah. The Brock trade, the Cubs trading Brock to the Cardinals was
Hey,
absolutely.
if they'd have never done it when I was a kid, I never would have got one of those Bracabellas, those umbrellas
Oh, I know.
that
I
you put on
remember
your
those.
head.
I loved them. I still think every time I'm in the airport, I think of those.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, because they were sold at the airport. They were all
Yep,
over the place.
all over the place.
Oh, I absolutely. Every time I'm in St. Louis and in the airport, especially they used to be, as you were coming down when you got into the
Kate.
well, not just the gate, but they were also in the luggage area, right?
Oh, okay.
There would be one or two, and there was where the USO is now.
Yeah.
Like right next to it, there was a shop.
Oh, yeah.
Because the USO doesn't have food, so there's a shop where the service members could get food.
Yeah, you're right.
They would sell them there, and I remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been in a USO in a while. Actually, I don't even think I can go to a USO anymore.
I don't think I don't know a lot about but I'm almost positive I've heard other military members tell me that they can't go anymore.
Well, no, it's. I think you have to be still active duty. I think they removed used to be able to do it as a retiree. I don't think as retirees are welcomed anymore.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not 100% sure though.
I'm not either, but I think you're right.
Right. When I travel, every now and then I've gone and I've been let in, but I haven't.
That's nice.
If they're not full, they'll let me in.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right. They'll let you in if you're traveling. But usually I don't have layovers. I usually set myself up so I don't have long layovers.
I hate layovers.
Right. I'm usually pretty good at that.
People will say, "Wow, you had a 35-minute layover. I bet you wish you'd had a couple hours." No, not really.
No, get in, get out. I'd rather rush to the plane. The only thing that I don't like about a short layover is the overhead baggage. Because there's a chance you may have to check your bag in.
Yeah. Here's another thing: you do not want short layovers in Atlanta or Denver. Those are two terrible places to have short layovers.
Yeah, I've had issues with Atlanta before, right? Where I've also had some long layovers in Atlanta. I almost missed a flight. I had a flight out of Hawaii, and this was when I was first working with my company. I didn't understand how the flight, how the software worked, right?
Yeah.
So I had a red eye that flew into Atlanta, and I had like a 4 hour, 4 hour layover. I got in at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Oh man, I was so damn tired because I couldn't sleep. My flight was from Hawaii to LA with an hour layover, and get off and change planes in LA to get back on the same plane, right? Plane to reboard. Mm-hmm. And I got stuck in a middle seat both times again with two big old guys next to me, right? So so I had two big old heavyset guys next to me. I really didn't get much sleep. I got into Atlanta and I was so dead. I was asleep on the chair, and then finally as they were finishing boarding, someone tapped on me and said, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be on this flight?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I was out of it. I'm lucky none of my stuff got stolen. So that's just the way it goes sometimes, right? Hey, great show today, man. Thanks for showing up and talking. And again, I want to apologize to you for not talking to you offline, but this was one of them that I thought it was better to talk online with first.
Yeah, there's no apologies necessary.
Say again?
There's no apology necessary.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it was something that we needed to talk about, and I probably should have done it offline, but I think online does help everybody understand too. Sure. Not everybody, when you respond, I know what you're going through, and not everybody does. And talking about it, and I tagged a couple of the people that you talked to, hoping that they'd show up, but it is what it is. And that's the thing too, when you give somebody a chance to respond and they don't, it kind of, it takes away what they originally said.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinions. Everybody has opinions.
Right? It's like, I love Doug Shelton. I love Doug Shelton to death. Right? He's got a great group. I love Let's Go Blues. I love it. Yeah. They're one of they've supported me from the beginning, and they're the only one they're the one of the few that still does.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then you have Anthony Lupo, and look, I get it. I get Anthony Lupo. I understand where he's from. I've offered him numerous times to come on the show to debate me, and he refuses. Well, then that's on you, Anthony, right? Not me. I'm going to continue to dispute what you say with what I know. And I've given you the platform. I've offered you the platform. You refuse to show up. So that's on you, not me. Right? That's how I say it. Well, guys, great show. Hour and a half tonight. You know, we're getting there. I really do want to have a 4-hour permanent show. I just got to get to the point where we're getting, you know, I can get guests and all that other stuff. But, you know, that's my goal, to have a 4-hour off night show to, you know, drive time or whatever. You know, we can always move timing around.
What's great is, we mainly talk about the Blues, but it's nice to bring guys in like Ian and Shaggy and Mindy and all those guys and Richard up in Detroit. You know, it's great to talk other teams hockey, and you know, it just goes to show that, hey, you know, we can be fans of the Blues, but we know a lot of players in the other team, and we know who's good and who's not, and it's just
you got to know more than your own team. You absolutely got to. Okay, guys, this is Guy the White Blues fan for Lance Scott from the Drop, saying aloha mahalo. He put the drop back, so I got to say it now. Aloha mahalo, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the Blue Note Fan Report. Aloha.